The show is brought to you in part by Old World Pizza featuring Fat Ricky's with store locations in Romeoville, Shorewood, and Orland Park. Great food, great service. Visit a location near you today where you're treated like an all-star every day. Hey, it's Rooster, Bobby Leach, SouthwestSportsnest.com, coming to you live for Cheap Seats alongside my big partner here, Big Tone.
Hey, how's everybody doing out there? You know, welcome back to me, of course, live and in color in the basement. Here we are, bringing to you football, and more football.
Football, more football. And, you know, you might be wondering what's the deal with the sunglasses. And, you know, when you're on a big stage and you got big lights on you, you know, you got to kind of tone it down a little bit. But, you know, to be honest with you, you know, we're kind of going incognito.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what you say? Incognito.
Incognito.
Yeah, we're just kind of standing in the back of the room looking at some of you guys out there that you know, that like the Sports Nest so much that you like to do your own show.
Often imitated, never duplicated.
That's right. So
nothing better than the original.
Nothing better than the original. We've been doing this a long time, and so let me go back to the old school of getting back. Yeah, these are kind of dark.
I'll tell you, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. You know, are those bifocals, by the way?
I have no clue, but I can't see nothing. So if we were playing pin the tail on the donkey, I'd be right in the game.
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, it's been a great football week this week. This past week, a lot of things happened in the last week to give us an insight of what's going to happen the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. You know, before we get to some of the bigger games, you know, let's talk a little bit about some of the teams that have dropped off. I mean, Plainfield East, Romeoville, Oswego East, you know, started strong, is kind of, you know, faltering fast. Joliet West, another team, you know, started off, I thought it was going to have a, you know, pretty good season this year, and they just haven't been able to get it done. And, you know, it's there's a lot of teams out there. Downer South was a surprise this year.
That's a shock.
I mean, that's a shock. You know, I mean, you know, to me that South is struggling like they are. But, you know, Coach Belskis said, you know, that hey, you got to commit. You got to commit, and you know, just because you're wearing, you're wearing a jersey doesn't mean that you're a winner. Okay, and just because you got, you know, a Mustang on your helmet, or you got a Steelman on your helmet, or a Tiger, or any other, you know, Spartan, anybody else, anything that's on the side of your helmet doesn't define what you're going to do. And I got to tell you, if that doesn't ring true, I mean, let's talk about Bolingbrook and Lincoln Way East this week. I mean, you know, Bolingbrook is the state champions. They're defending 8A state champions, and they've got an All-American quarterback, and they've got all the, you know, they're coming off of the last time they lost was against Lincoln Way East at home. So they had all the motivation. They had really everything in their favor except for one thing, you know, the win. At the end of the day, Lincoln Way East, man, boy, they took it to them. And you know, with all due respect, you know, Tom Fusel, Aaron Bailey, you know, I mean, both of them are phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal players. But you know, Bailey going out in the first quarter did have an impact on that game.
Tell you, I wasn't at it. I was listening to it on the radio, and once Aaron Bailey went out, I mean, the team went down like a house of cards. I mean, what are you going to do? You had other aspects of the team that needs to pick up, the running backs, the receivers, I mean, special teams. Everybody went, you know, bye-bye to the concession stand. That's what it seemed like to me as I was listening. I mean, got to give Lincoln Way East their due, though. Fusel, good quarterback. Okay, he stymied their defense. He stymied.
He did. I'll give you that. He did stymie the defense, and you know, I mean, just take a look. Here's a play. This is in the first quarter, by the way. You know, Bailey, you know, he's got the option. And, you know, he gets out there. Stover's about, 5 to 6 yards away, so he's got the pitch man there. And he pitches the ball, but you can see, if you look real close at this highlight, you can see the ball goes real high into Stover before he grabbed it, almost a little pop-up. And Stover took off for a touchdown. Our cameras included, I'm sure all the eyes in the stadium were following Stover as he was ripping off his big run and an early 7-0 lead. But, you know, when this play was over, you know, Bailey was, in the back there, he had gotten shot, and it's pretty tough from the camera angle that we got, because we were kind of far away at this point. But you can see clearly that, you know, one of the Griffins had a nice legal, hit. I mean, but, he got low on Bailey and hit him in the knee at the wrong time, at the wrong spot when he was planting or whatever happened.
That's what you got to go low on that guy.
Right. And at the end of the day, dude, injuries happen. But here, check out this clip. So you can see right away, Bolingbrook kind of set the tone there, coming out and being able to score right away on Lincoln Way East. You could see that might have been a problem for East, but they came back and responded themselves.
Lincoln Way East answered. They answered.
You can't just point to that injury and say this is why Bolingbrook lost the football game. If you lose an All-American, All-State, quarterback like Aaron Bailey, that's going to have an effect on you, and that honestly does have an impact on the game, but defensively, Bolingbrook did not stop Lincoln Way East. They could not stop them. Offensively, it's understandable they're going to struggle a little bit, maybe a field position game, but Lincoln Way East was able to move the ball on Bolingbrook almost at will.
Nicky Colangelo, Fusel, one pass to Colangelo, he was wide open. There was nobody within 10 yards of him where he ran for that touchdown.
Another tragic loss for Bolingbrook, and I'm sad to say that I don't know what his condition is right now. But John Howard, and he played for me as an 8th grade football player. Pretty good kid, and he went down, as you'll see in this clip here.
Complete into different territory.
It was almost as bad a memory as the Joe Theismann broken ankle, back in the day.
He got himself clipped pretty good.
Yeah, his ankle got rolled up on his leg. Looked, at least from the camera, the angle that we had, it looked like it really broke his ankle pretty severely, and he was certainly in a lot of pain. But again, a grotesque injury like that in football, that sets you back too. Now you lost your quarterback, and you had this very bad injury on the football field. I think that inside of Bolingbrook's psyche, they weren't coming to fight. And meanwhile, if you're a Griffin,
you smell blood.
Yeah, you smell blood. You're foaming at the mouth, and you're pinning your ears back, going, "We got these guys on run, and we're going to take them down." And that's what they did.
They came at the rest of the game. They came. Their defense came.
And as good as Lincoln Way East has been, what did you say, Coach Tone? 20 straight.
20 straight.
20 straight conference wins. Mm-hmm. That's amazing, man.
Yep.
That's amazing in any high school football, but really 20 straight conference wins, pretty amazing feat, especially considering the conference that they're in. Let's face it, HF, Bolingbrook, Lockport, over the last 4 years, 5 years have been all pretty solid teams. Lockport's down a little bit this year. HF went real deep last year. They were down a couple years before, but the reality is the South Suburban Blue is not a pushover conference, and to go 20-0,
that's pretty phenomenal.
It's pretty phenomenal. But I got to tell you, I think the best medicine for Lincoln Way East right now is the fact that they lost to Wheaton Warrenville South 7-0 last year in the playoffs, because they were really good last year, and we really felt like nobody's going to stop them.
But something, Lincoln Way East, they have this mentality: one game at a time. We're taking one game at a time. We're not looking next week. We're taking this guy, and that's going to be the ball game. They all come together. It's just phenomenal. I've seen them 3-4 times this year. They come together. They don't talk, they give everybody the credit. If Fusel has a good day, he gives his line the credit. Okay, yeah. Line open up the holes. Yeah. Colangelo, same way. They're a team. They're a family.
Well, and then the other thing is, Coach Stone, is Rob Zvonar, the coach at Lincoln Way East, last year when I talked to him at the end of the game when they beat Bolingbrook, he was juiced. I mean, he was excited. He's like, this is the biggest win our program's had in many, many years. And, he was just really excited about that win. This year, he took it all in stride. And I think that part of it is because, hey, we beat Bolingbrook last year, and we didn't win a state championship. They did. So how much does an individual game during the season really mean in the big scheme of things, especially when you have two teams that are playing in different classes?
Not really much.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot there. I mean, the reality is Lincoln Way East as good as any 8A team? Honestly, I think they are. I mean, the fact of the matter is other than Loyola, who I think is, again, a really strong football program this year, a Catholic football program, other than Loyola, though, there isn't, in my opinion, a whole lot of 8A schools out there that really have, just blown me away and said, wow, what a great team. So does Bolingbrook still have a shot at a state title? I think they do.
Oh, yeah, of course. They're still a good team.
They're a good football team. I think, it's all going to be dependent upon whether or not Aaron Bailey suits up again. They may want to rest him this week, but you got Sandburg. And Sandburg you got at home, and Sandburg's 5-1 right now.
Sandburg's defense, I mean, they played Lincoln Way East, and the Lincoln Way East offense could do nothing. The reason why Lincoln Way East won was they had 2 pick sixes, and they had a punt return for a touchdown. I mean, offensively, they could really not move the ball.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, they're playing well, and it isn't over for Bolingbrook. Without Aaron Bailey on the field, it does change the dynamic of this football team. I don't care what anybody says; it changes the dynamic of this football team. And now you have to look at, is our defense good enough to run with Lincoln Way Central? I mean, we haven't talked about Lincoln Way the Knights in probably a long time because there hasn't been a whole lot to talk about. They've been on a downer, but. And this program has only got 3 wins this season. But let's face it, they've gone through the bulk of their schedule, the beef of their schedule. They still have Bolingbrook, to play. But if they get to the playoffs, and that's a big if, because they've got to win a minimum of the next 2 or 3. They win the next 2 or 3, it's possible that they'll be a bubble team and get in. But their defense is pretty solid too.
Yeah.
And so you got to take a look at that and you think, hey, we saw what Lincoln Way Central and Sandburg's game was like. That was a tight game. That was a defensive battle. Those 2 defenses, they say defense wins championships. I don't know. I think Lincoln Way Central, Orland Park, Sandburg, I think these teams that are still on Bolingbrook's schedule aren't going to be pushovers. It isn't going to be easy. And this could go very badly for the Raiders here. I think, depending on how they respond this week.
Yeah, it could. They could. Like I said, I mean, if Aaron Bailey comes back, I mean, how Quincy Woods, he steps up.
Right, yeah.
I mean, he's got to step up, too. I mean, Howard, Omar Stouffer, he has to step up.
The Huff boys.
The Huff boys, yeah.
They've all, it's going to take everybody on that team. And certainly the swagger has always been there with Bolingbrook. I mean, for as long as I can remember, there's always been a swagger about Bolingbrook. But it takes more than a swagger. It takes more than this. You can talk all day long, and you can tell everybody how great you are, but you gotta prove it on the field week in, week out. And just against Lincoln Way East, everything that could have gone wrong in that game did. And ultimately, it really, I'm not happy about the game because it doesn't matter to me who won or lost the football game. It really doesn't. I wanted to see a great game between 2 great quarterbacks, and I only got to see one of them most of the night. And so. Again, I think we missed out. That was the big game, big news of the week. And then the other game that I thought was going to be a really big game and a big tester was going to be Brother Rice and Providence. Providence has been on fire this year, but Brother Rice is one of those teams that can sneak up on you. And in the early going at Providence, it was just it was right away. Providence scores. I mean, right away they get into the end zone. And right away, Brother Rice comes back and scores. Then Brother Rice kicks an onside kick. They get the ball back. So now you're kind of sweating it. They're really going at Providence. I think that had the telltale of that game. Providence jumped out to a 28-7 lead. 12 seconds to go in the half. They fumble, just outside their own 10-yard line. One play later, Rice scores. It's 28-14, and come out in the third quarter, they score again on their first possession. It's 28-21, and you're thinking, whoa, what just happened there? I mean, Providence was in total, complete command, on the scoreboard,
So their defense was a little lacking.
I'll tell you what, though, you got to look at this play. I mean, look at this pick six here. I mean, this was a beautiful pick six. You know, that really made the difference. That was a difference. That was a backbreaker early in the game because Brother Rice was moving the ball. Providence needed something to stop them. It was a tight game at that point. This broke it open right here.
Page's pass is intercepted on the play by number 2, Kevin Ward.
So that was a great play, and Coach Tone. I don't know, man. Can you run like that?
Nope.
Yeah,
maybe 20 years ago, but now.
Yeah, I don't know if
I got kids that run.
like
right, we got boys that can run for us.
Yeah. You know, in the end, Coach Cogs has got his team positioned very well. I mean, their only loss on the road to 8A state runner-up last year, Loyola, and those two play tough each other every year, but Providence doesn't play well on the road at Loyola, and Loyola doesn't really do all that well at Providence. So, a home field advantage in that case. But again, there's your one loss. We got a couple of games coming up here that you don't want to overlook, but they're not blockbusters. However, you got Lake Forest this week, at Providence, but looming in the last game of the season, Mount Carmel. Mount Carmel, Providence. That's going to be
epic.
That's going to be epic. So, unfortunately for Celt fans, you were hoping that Mount Carmel beat Loyola, and that game went to overtime. Unfortunately for fans, Loyola did come away with the win, so that makes it that much tougher for Providence to win their conference. Loyola's going to have to lose a ball game in order for that to happen. And even then, it's head to head. So to get a share of the conference. So you just don't know. But I mean, that's going to be a big game, man. Providence, Mount Carmel. That's going to be that. We started the game off with the season off with a Providence JCA. We're going to finish it this year with
Providence, Mount Carmel.
Providence, Mount Carmel. Two great teams and. Big games again this week. Let's talk a little bit about who is doing well right now in the SBC. Oswego. Plainfield North.
Decide the championship, won't it?
I think so. I mean, I was a little surprised that Minooka lost to Plainfield South. I mean, I respect Plainfield South, and I think they've got a good football team. There's no question about it. But I really felt like Minooka took their bruising early on in the season, and they were going to catch midstream. And I thought maybe they would run the table in the SBC and surprise everybody. But the real shock and surprise for me was that they lost 14-10. Mm-hmm. So that leaves this. In Plainfield Central, they jumped out quick, lost a couple, and it just doesn't seem like anybody's really dominant in the SBC. Like there's nobody, that really stands out until you get to Oswego and Plainfield North. Now, Plainfield North only lost Bourbonnais week 1.
Yep, we picked them to win the division, right?
Yeah, we did, and we also picked them to win that game in Bourbonnais. And like we said.
Well, we know nothing about Bourbonnais.
Yeah, we don't know enough about Bourbonnais. And like I said, every 4 years they've got a good team, and they ran into a good team, and they didn't even get beat that bad. I mean, it was a 6-point game, But here, Plainfield North going on the road to Oswego. Oswego 4-1, and they have literally mowed over teams in the SBC. Nobody has held a candle to them in the SBC. And Plainfield North has got a very potent offense, but I don't know if their defense is going to be good enough to stop the running attack that Oswego's been putting out. I mean, Oswego can run the ball. They can throw the ball, too, but they can run the ball and pound it at you and put up big points. And I just don't know if Plainfield North's going to have enough.
Oswego, they're always tough at home. Playing at home and stuff. Like you said, they pound the ball, they throw the ball. I mean, their defense adequate, average, above average?
Yeah, I think they're adequate. They're a good defense. I guess if there were partiality to it, I'm a little bit partial to Plainfield North because I know a lot of the kids there. I know a lot of kids at Oswego too. But I'd like to see Plainfield North, get over that hump and win the conference title straight out. But it always comes down to at the end of the SBC season, there's always we beat him, they beat that guy, we beat this guy. And there's usually a 2-way or a 3-way tie between these teams because there's so much parity in that league. But this time around, I got to tell you, man, I'd like to see what Plainfield North does against Oswego. If Plainfield North, Jay Roberts has a big game running the ball, they could, Kurt Palendek. I mean, if he has a big game at quarterback, and they could beat Oswego and And if they do that, I think that they've got a shot to make a run in the playoffs. I really do. I think Oswego has a shot to make a run in the playoffs, irregardless of how this game turns out, because I think they're that good. I think Oswego's, probably, if I were a bet man, I'd say Oswego is, a shade better than Plainfield North is this year. But this ought to be a good game, and it could be a barn burner.
Could be,
because Oswego's defense is adequate, but you're going up against a very potent Plainfield North offense. Same is true with Oswego. Oswego's offense pretty potent, and they're putting up a lot of points.
Depends on ball position.
Right.
Ball position.
So I don't know. I guess that's going to be a big game this week, and so it's been an incredible turnaround of events. Talk about JCA. Mm-hmm. And the up and down of JCA.
JCA still don't have a defense. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, they don't. I'll tell you. They got their offense back though. Mm-hmm. Over the weekend, Ty Isaac back. 200+ yards, 4 touchdowns. Kids,
Yeah, but you got teams like Montini looming in the
right.
and Morris. Yeah. Let me tell you something. I saw Morris week 1. Morris is tough.
Yeah, okay. Morris is tough. There's not going to be any cakewalks for JCA in the postseason if they get to the postseason, because they still have, they still have a long way to go. They got 4 wins.
They'll make it to the postseason.
Yeah, so but there's no guarantees. Isaac has not been healthy a lot this season. You got Ivelo as a junior, Coach John Ivelo's son, Mike Ivelo as a fullback back there, and that kid, he just keeps coming. He's the biggest blessing I think for Isaac, because he can really lay a block. Mm-hmm. That kid, he gets the tough yards, but Ivelo can lay a block. And again, one of my favorites, Tyler Reitz, and I just love that kid. He's deceptively quick, great attitude, and a hilltopper through and through. So I want to see JCA. Obviously, I'm a fan of JCA, and I want to see them do well. I'm a fan of the kids that are there. I'm just like, but I tell you.
I'm a fan of Coach Sharp, and I'm a fan of JCA too, but they got to stop somebody.
Yeah, they got to stop somebody.
They got to stop somebody.
And in that game, there were 2 big plays. They gave up 2 big plays. It was 49-13 over the Shamrocks this past weekend, and St. Pat, the first play of the game ran the opening kickoff back. So there's your 1 big play. Mm-hmm. So you can't really fault the defense because it was a special teams play, and then they had the 1 big play during the game. Where it looked like I think the defensive backs in this case, and we'll show you the tape here, but I think he kind of let up a little bit. Looked like he stepped out of bounds. They kind of let up a little bit. He kept going, and referee just let the play go. By the time they, said, "Hey, he's still running. We got to chase him," it was too late. So 2 big plays. I thought it was a pretty good performance for them. But again, trying to figure out who the best is right now. Well, on our list, it's got to be Lincoln Way East.
Lincoln Way East. Yep.
Lincoln Way East has got to be number 1. Who's your number 2 at this point?
Number 2. Number 2, I want to say it's got to be a tie. Bolingbrook Sandburg.
Really, Sandburg?
Sandburg. I've seen Sandburg. They're double tough. Yeah. Double tough. Their defense. They have. I don't want to say this guy's name wrong. Their running back number 2, Latrell or well, you know who you are.
Right.
You know who you are. Number 2.
Yeah.
He's double tough too. They have to. Bolingbrook this week. They had to stop him. They stop him. They win. They don't. Their quarterback, though, on Sandburg, I saw him with Senior. Remember we Senior was in? We saw him. And me and Senior just looked at the quarterback and went, okay.
Yeah. Well,
little weak.
That's going to come back to bite you, because I know they say, all the time, well, defense wins champions, defense. Well, that's true, but you got to be able to keep your defense off the field, and that means you got to get first downs on offense.
You got to be able to move the ball.
You got to be able to move the ball. You can't leave your defense out there to play, 70% of the game. So, still takes an offense. I don't know. My number 2, I think, right now is going to be Providence, and I'll tell you why.
Providence. Yeah.
Providence beat Minooka. Providence beat JCA. Providence beat, Brother Rice. Providence has beaten some good football programs. There's been no easy schedule. It's a Catholic blue schedule for them.
No, they're saying Providence and Lincoln Way East are on the old collision course.
Yep.
They're on the collision course.
And so I like the fact that 1 and 2. It worked out well for Lincoln Way East the last time when 1 and 2 played, when Bolingbrook was at number 2 going into this last week. But anyhow, I like Providence, and then I would probably say it'd be a toss up for me at that point. Whether it be as you say, it could be Sandburg. I also like Downers Grove North, though. I like Downers Grove North right now. I mean, they're 4-1. We've got an Edwards back there.
This might be their year.
Yeah.
And they've been down a while. So.
Well, I mean, and Edwards is, he's a young kid, sophomore. I mean, they got a lot of years out of him left. Mm-hmm. Last time that they were really good, they had an Edwards in the backfield, and they got another one. And so I don't know. I like Downers North, too. I like what they're showing me. I think after this week, it'll be pretty crystal clear. Once you start getting down.
That's right. Who's here and who's there.
It's going to be pretty crystal clear.
Yeah.
A little disappointed, I guess, at some of the teams that are, that have not gotten out of the win column or into the win column this season. I mean, Romeoville had their opportunities against Plainfield South, didn't get it done last week. An emotional time, and I, want to say a quick, condolences to the Van Buell family.
Of course.
But Jake Van Buell lost his grandmother, and still went out and played Friday night, and they were very close, by the way, as I know personally, but again, that whole situation just made it that much tougher for them, to compete against Plainfield North. I don't know what it is with Romeoville this year. They just haven't been able to stop anybody.
You give up what, 250 points and you score 16,
right?
16 to 26. I mean,
right.
You're not going to win.
Right. Yeah. So you just gotta. I think Romeoville is. I think they got a shot this weekend. Plainfield East, another team that I thought was going to be, much better this year at closing the deal.
What's going on with Brendan Rampa?
Rampa's having a great season. Let me tell you something. Brendan Rampa is this is what goes back to what we had talked about earlier on about it doesn't really matter what the record is. It doesn't matter what your record is. If you're going into this Friday night's game and you're thinking, this is a waste of time. We're 1-5. We're 2-4. We're 0-6. Whatever it is, and then you just kind of half, give it a half effort. I mean, if you're going to do that, man, just what, take your pads, take them off, give them to the coach, set them down, walk away. Do yourself a favor and do the rest of the team a favor. Walk away. If you're not willing to go out there and give 100% for the kids that are next to you, you shouldn't be playing the game. You just shouldn't be playing the game. And the fact of the matter is, if I'm 0-6, I'm not playing for anything more than my pride.
That's right.
Sticking next to my buddy and playing for pride and giving it my best. Because sometimes you can give your best and lose every single time because your best just simply isn't good enough. It's not as good as the other guy. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we live in a society today where people think that you have to be the best at everything that you do. And if you're not the best, you're not good enough. And I got news for you. There can only be one best. There could be one best.
Yeah.
And it ain't you, and it ain't me, and it probably ain't you. Mm-hmm. So the reality is you got to give your best. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be the best.
Well, you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, after the game, you lose. Like say Romeo, you get beat by 40 points.
Right.
You say to yourself in the mirror and say, did I do everything I can, to contribute? Did I do everything I can to be the best?
Right.
In my ability. Did I give my ability? If you could say that, then hey, cool, more power to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We've coached football for many years, you and I together. Mm-hmm. And that's something we've always preached.
49ers.
Yeah, but it's something and I got to be honest with you, I haven't always done it. I haven't always given my best, and when I haven't given my best, I regretted it. Mm-hmm. It may have taken a year or 2 or 3 years or 5 years or a lifetime, but when I didn't do my best, I regretted it, and especially when it was I just didn't care. You got to care, and so what I say to all the teams that are out there that don't have playoffs in the cards for them this year, and that in many cases your season's coming to an end, your high school football careers and football in general is coming to an end for you. Go out with both guns blazing. Go out there and play spoiler. I don't know. I know a lot of teams that make it to the playoffs and get hammered. I mean, hammered. Oh, we're a bubble team. We're going to get in the playoffs. Yeah. And then you go out and you face a team that is one of the top, Sacred Heart, a Maine South, a JCA, a Providence, a Montini. You're going to see those guys, and those guys just lay the smack down. And so the last thing you see when you look at a scoreboard is a 49-0 or 49-7 score. How well and how good are you going to walk off the field then? You know, you could go 6-3. You can go 5-4, and feel all excited that you made the playoffs and you get one extra game, and then you go to that extra game, and for whatever reason, you guys get shelled. Are you going to tell me then that it was worth it? You know, like you know, to me, if I'm 0-6 and I know I ain't going to make the playoffs, buddy, I'm taking you out. I'm going to do everything I can do because that's going to be more memorable to me than making the playoffs and losing 49-7. So for me, it's about being the spoiler. And so again, getting back to Brendan Rampa, there's a kid who doesn't care about the scoreboard, who doesn't care about what his record is. He doesn't care about that. He's playing football, and that kid's a stud. I mean, he's a stud. He's gonna end up playing D1 somewhere. He really will. He should go D1 somewhere. I haven't heard where he's going to go, but I'm going to tell you something. They moved him to fullback this year. He's been a linebacker, but he's so tough, man. The kid's so tough. They put him at fullback and he scored. He continues to score. I mean, he's a tough guy, and that's what you like. You like guys that are tough guys on the football field. As soon as he puts his helmet on, he's a tough guy and he takes it off. And I bet he's the kind of personality that's a teddy bear when he takes it off. He's a great kid, but. So that's what I like about guys like that. Tyler Lancaster, another one. Another kid that's going to have a great future ahead of him. Going to Northwestern.
Yeah.
Dude, come on, really? Do you really care? That your season has gone the way it has. I mean, honestly, obviously, every player wants to win. That's what you're out there for. You want to win. But really, you'll shame yourself, your school, and your future if you just decided, you know what? I've already got my piece of paper. I'm going to Northwestern. You know what? I'm not going to play tonight. I'm going to sit back and I'm just going to enjoy it. Why take a risk of getting hurt? Now, if you had that attitude, you're not going to play Division I anyhow. You're not going anywhere anyhow. And you could point to the coach and whine about, oh, the coach stinks. He's terrible. He doesn't give me any play time. He doesn't help me. He doesn't. That's all I ever hear. I hear that over and over and over again about people pointing a finger at somebody as to the reason why they're not winning football games. Well, listen, the only finger you can point is here. Point to yourself. If 52 or 70 players, or however many players you have on your football team, all look in the mirror and say, I'm the reason why we're not winning right now, you'd be better for it. It's funny, for as little as Ty Isaac has played, he has outscored most of the teams that are under 500 this year for their season. Just in what he's put up in the limited time he's been able to play. So, I don't know. I mean, so let's talk about, Coach Tone, what's going to be your game of the week? Who's going to be your upset of the week and why?
Okay, Carmel JCA. First game. Will that be my upset special of the week? Oh, JCA is JCA. Where is the game playing? They're playing at JCA. Ty Isaac, offense. Carmel's tough on defense, too. I mean, I don't know. That might be a pick'em game. But you got to go with JCA. You got to go with JCA in that one. JCA is at home. I mean, they have Ty Isaac. All you got to do is give Ty Isaac the ball every time, and he scores most of the time. But defensively, I'm sorry, guys at JCA. Defensively, you guys are still a little suspect. I mean, I saw the blowout of your state championship last year. You guys scored 45 points. Hoorah! But you gave up 70. 70 points. I mean, we saw a lot of the highlights. We saw a lot of you defensive backs, and your safety's chasing. You can't chase. You got to keep the play in front of you. Okay, I like Coach Sharp. I like Ty Isaac. I like Tyler Reitz and company. Okay, so I like him in that game. I like him in that game. Big, maybe about a 28-24 score. Okay, my game of the week. My game of the week is Oswego, Plainfield North, and I'll tell you why. Both teams are 4-1. Both teams are hungry. Defensively, offensively, they're playing at Oswego. Oswego's double tough. But Plainfield North, they're no pushover. They have Jay Roberts. You give the ball to Jay Roberts, he's one of those backs you can give him 20, 30 times a game, and keep the ball out of Oswego's hands on offensively. Okay? So I like, though, but, we saw Oswego a lot last year, and we saw Plainfield North. I really didn't see him. But Jay Roberts is tough. We picked him to win the championship, but I'm going to say my upset special is going to be Oswego.
All right, Big Tone. I mean, those are pretty big predictions for you. I mean, obviously, the big game of the week, for me is going to be Carmel at JCA. I think Carmel's down a little bit this year, but I do think that JCA is getting their swagger back. I think that that last loss that they had really ticked them off. And sometimes the best football team is an angry football team. And I don't know that they want to lose another game and I don't know that they're going to lose another game. But I will tell you that even without Isaac on the field, I still like JCA's chances against Carmel. I think Carmel's defense has struggled this year, and so I'm going to call this game a little bit more. Let me see my magic 8 ball here. See what it says here. Yeah, that's about what I thought. I'm going to call it 35-10 JCA. So let's move on. I'll answer also. Let's talk a little bit about my game of the week this week, which is a little bit different. I mean, Coach Tone picked two SBC schools and like them both. But my game of the week this week is going to be Proviso at Downers Grove North. I think Downers Grove North is at a pivotal point this season. They've got to win this football game. They've got Proviso West coming to them. Proviso West is 4-2. Trojans are 5-1. So at 5-1. This win gets them their 6th win, and it's not going to be an easy hole for them. They've got Hinsdale Central still on their calendar, and then followed by Glenbard West. Glenbard West is undefeated, and Hinsdale Central no pushover at 5-1 themselves. So Downers North has got 3 games left. Of the 3 games that they have left, Proviso West is probably the game that they can target and say, we need to win this game. We definitely need to get this game. That's number 6, and it's out of the way. But for playoff positioning, I think they need to get 2. I think I'd like to see North have 7 wins this year. If they can get 7 wins, win 2 of their next 3, look out for these guys in the playoffs. I mean, how far do I think that they're going to go in the playoffs? I'm not going to even comment on that yet. But I will say that I like Downers North's chances at home. I like their running game. They've got an average defense, but they're sufficient. I think they'll be able to handle Proviso West. And if they can stop the big play, because that's the other thing that Proviso West brings to the table is big play, potential. So if Downers North can beat Proviso West, they clinch their playoff spot. I don't think that's good enough for them this year. I still think that they need 7 wins. So winning 2 of the next 3, it starts Friday night at home. I like Downers North here. My 8 ball is telling me. Let's see here. That doesn't speak. I want to get one of those 8 balls. Can somebody get me an 8 ball that talks so I don't have to keep looking at this thing? Because I already know the answers. It'd be good if they knew what the answers are, right? I bet you guys are wondering what the answer is. Well, let me tell you what it's going to be. This week, Downers North is going to beat up Proviso West. It's going to be a closer game than I'd like to give them, because if I had it my way, I'd say it's something to be along 35-14, but I'm going to make it a little bit closer. I'm going to say 34-21, Downers North. I think it's a 2-touchdown game for North. I think North will have the momentum at home. All right, so many of you at home want to know what my upset special of the week is. And I'm smiling because most of you guys at home are going to think that Rooster is literally falling off the fence. Now, if I fall off the fence with somebody defended me and I'm getting ready to go into a vat of hot oil for, chicken wings tonight, I guess, so cock-a-doodle-doo. I'm going to say, and I like this because it's an inter-district rivalry, and you know what? You got to throw records out the table. I think 20-0 is too long to go, so I'm going to call Lincoln Way Central and the Knights over Lincoln Way East. I think Lincoln Way East is, getting a little cocky right now, and I like Lincoln Way Central's chances. I like their defense. They played Sandburg tough. Sandburg played Lincoln Way East tough. So my upset special of the week is going to be Lincoln Way Central over Lincoln Way East. You heard it here first, and if I win, Coach Tone is going to buy me a year's supply of hot sauce for my wings. So I can, it's like tanning solution for me. A little hot, spicy stuff. So let's call it. All right? My Magic 8 Ball's never, ever wrong. Ever wrong. You guys know that at home. This week, let's see. Griffins. Let's just try again. That's not a good sign for the Rooster. Not a good sign for the Rooster when it says try again. So maybe I'm a little off base here, but I'm going to go with it. Forget the Magic 8 Ball. I ain't going to listen to it because it's never right. Did I just say that? Yeah, it's never right. Rooster's always right. Let's call it Knights are going to put lights out for the Griffins 21-19. So that's it, man. That's our upsets of the week, man.
You'll never learn. You'll never learn, Rooster. You don't bet against Big Tone and the Lincoln Way East Griffins. Okay, they always come through.
You guys got it. I think so. I think the fans at Lincoln Way East, at the very least, you guys probably need to feed Big Tone here. Mm-hmm. Get him a hot dog or
Lincoln Way East Griffins.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what, he's right. I don't think you've been wrong yet.
Nope, you don't bet against those boys. I'm telling you.
Even when I thought, I bet against them a lot, but every time I've bet against them and you've stood up, shame. I just think that they're due. Every team is due. I'm going to tell you something though. Tom Fusel, my hat's off to you. You got to be one of the best quarterbacks I've ever got the pleasure of watching play. I mean, you know, as far as running the ball. You know, I'd like to see him throw the ball a little bit more. I really like, if I could take Tom Fusel and mix him with something like Ryan West from last year's Oswego team.
Even Blake Winkler.
And even Blake Winkler, where they, you know, where they got that throwing ability and the running ability, and they got the size, and they got all those things. I mean, man, you're talking about, you know, a Hall of Fame, NFL Hall of Fame player someday. But so anyhow, that's that's the real deal. That's the real show this week, you know. And
is it over already?
Yeah, well, you know, I mean,
I thought we were just getting started. How can it be over already?
Yeah, you know, people got things to do. You guys got things to do. We got things to do. We got, you know, we got people to see.
People
right?
to see.
We got people to see, places to go, right? So,
all right, I'll be Rooster. I'll be waiting in the car.
Hey, well, thanks for joining us this week. Big Tone's going to go and get the car ready. We're going to go out and, you know, do what we do. But, hey, we want to thank you for joining in, listening to our babbling predictions. But, I mean, so far, I think we've been pretty close and pretty accurate. If you're a football player, be a football player. We'll catch you next week right here, only on the Cheap Seats. It's been a production of SouthwestSportsnest.com, home of the playmakers and game changers. Remember, do your best. Get on the nest.